You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Okay, I'm ready.
I did a last edit if you guys want to refresh. Nothing really changed. I just took out some of the
It's the pre-show, guys. Welcome to the Aftermath pre-show. We'll call it the Before Math.
Things that they don't get to see. We are live.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Ahoy.
Ahoy, Greg Hectus.
I think I'm here.
Hi, matey, David Hall.
Is it suddenly Pirates Day?
And Tony Groves.
Good evening, fellas.
Hey. On the show tonight, more Coke Series drivers find their homes for the season, including a driver return to the Joe Gibbs team. Will iRacing scan some of the most iconic cars in the history of NASCAR? And we review this week's Wild World of Outlaws race at Fairbury.
And remember, everyone, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to this show and see for yourself all these great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting the show notes. So we hope to see you there, guys.
Sim Coaches offers the realistic sim racing equipment you need to win more races online. It is designed for real racers. Hydraulic construction makes them feel just like the real thing. High quality construction, 100% leak proof, and lifetime warranty are the key features with these pedals, and they look absolutely amazing. Check out simcoaches.com and use the coupon code iRacersLounge to get 10% off your purchase. Simcoaches.com is your ticket to feel like you actually are sitting behind the wheel of the car. Drive harder and stay on the limit longer.
All right, let's hit off some Coke Series topic. The first one we have is William Esports signing Vicente Salas and Donovan Strauss.
Pretty good pairing there. Vicente was really coming on at the end of the last season there. It was looking pretty hot.
And he had that huge win in the middle of early in the year, too, where he just dominated. It was Richmond, I believe, right?
Right. And then and Donovan Strauss did very well in the qualifying races, the Xfinity car, whatever they call it.
I did watch the video. It was understated, I guess is the best way to describe this one. It kind of felt like it was building up somewhere, but then it didn't go super far except to present the new numbers and names.
Yeah, you kind of felt like it was like they got real excited at the beginning to do what they were doing, and then just were like, oh, we got to release this, and finished it off. But I don't know, they never really showed the car, did they? You see a little bit of it, but you don't really get to see unless you freeze frame it.
Yeah, it does. It does a real quick drive-by, and but it's good and short. You don't have to sit there forever and watch it. It's a good intro video for the purpose it serves.
It could be maybe they don't have a sponsor yet, and they don't want to show a car without a sponsor or with a sponsor, so they just avoid it. Because they're trying to sign some up. I mean, you never know what's going on.
Yep. We have another pair of signings. William Byron Esports has picked up the same lineup as last year with the past series champion Nick Ottinger and the Final Four driver from last year, Logan Clampett.
I mean, how do you go wrong with these two guys? I mean, past champions, you know that, one of these guys is going to be in the top 4. You know, you can pretty much bet money on it.
Well, and Logan Clampett was the runner-up too, right, last year, and he was. We were picking him to win that race if he had a better track position.
You know, Nick was the previous year's champion. You know, he didn't make the top 4 last year, but he's definitely a force to reckon with.
I think that.
Bit of a letdown for Nick. Bit of a letdown year for Nick last year after winning the championship. He kind of, I guess, you know, some people have that slump after a big victory like that. But I look for him to be back really strong this year. And Logan's always quick, so that's going to be a real solid team.
Now, last year was their first pairing with these two like together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this could play out to be actually a pretty cool story to see how, you know, they can build on what they did last year. And I don't think we've seen too much of that, those type of storylines in the past.
I'll never forget that win for Nick Ottinger at Homestead where he put on tires and others didn't, and it was a short run to the finish, and he just drove up through there and won it. That was I'll never forget that. It was one of those racing moments, you know.
Okay, Xset returns to the series, and this time they're bringing in Ryan Luza and fan favorite Casey Kerwin.
Boy, another couple stout drivers. Ryan Luza, again, you can't bet money that he isn't going to make the top 4.
I feel like these are going to be like the Black Bandit cars on the track. Like, they just seem like they're going to be we were doing the pirate intros, but they're kind of like pirate type cars. They just they're going to be like, you're going to recognize them as they're coming through the field.
The Black Knight is what, you know, I see. I kind of like the look of it, though. Like you said, it's just all black with, you know, just the white lettering on it with some red.
All right, we talked about the new team, eRacer GG, formerly known as Parker Kligerman Sports, and they've announced the signing of their drivers, Derek Bordeaux and Colin Bowden.
Hey, Landon, we have the shop hall.
We could call them.
Now we just need drivers. Okay.
We need to get him a videographer.
That's what I was about to say, is maybe they need to hire somebody else.
But I think it's also his shtick now, right? Like, if he goes somewhere else, you know, it's not as funny. I think it's so creative.
Well, I mean, obviously it's a stab at comedy. And out of all the, you know, Coke announcements, this has got to be what you would call the funniest, for sure.
I still like the, when it shows the driver list, it says, I like to be slow. And then the 2 ones, I like driving fast.
Yeah, so for our audio listeners, they have a list of the drivers in a columns, and basically every single driver says, I like to drive slow, but there's 2 slots that say, I like to drive fast, and that's Colin Bowden and Derek Bordeaux. And at the end, when they, you know, cut in their faces, you know, with Landon and Parker, yeah. I think, you know, Camden must have a mullet, it looks like.
I just see this one being like Dukes of Hazzard's type team, drinking beer, it just kind of reminds me of the Good Old Boys kind of team.
They don't need a new videographer. I think they're right up the alley of something really good.
Yeah, well, that video there just earned them another fan. I'll be cheering on the mullet all year.
Didn't we do some kind of fake awards at the last the combined show? What do we call those? I don't know. Well, they win the one for best or best announcement so far. Joe Gibbs comes out of the box strong with Raffaella returning to the number 18. Or I said that wrong. And a return of the number 18 Interstate Batteries car by Bobby Zielinski.
I'm actually interested to see how this team does next year, because Bobby has done really well driving each year, and it'll be good to see if, you know, him backing Joe Gibbs, and maybe he can help out with Ray, and maybe they can turn their winning ways both way.
Well, I'm going to call it now. Ray's going to have a good year because we got some horsepower back.
Ray Alfala and Bobby Zielinski at the same place. I mean, I would say they probably spent the most money out of any team. I mean, if that's quite a pairing, and those two guys are what you would call headline guys to have on the team.
Well, we know the 18 car will be fast at any of the road courses.
And
hopefully this will be a boost for Alfala. He's really struggled the last couple of years. Be nice to see him running up front again and consistently running up front.
He's really struggled since they took the horsepower away. It's coming back.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he left VRS, was the team I believe he was on, with Keegan. And I don't think Keegan's been announced yet. So I assume he's back with VRS. And who will they pick up? I don't think we know yet.
Do we have?
I do know. Sorry, go.
I was gonna say, do we have any idea where Mitchell DeJong is going yet? Too? Did we announce that last week? I can't remember. So, there's a bunch of free agents still out there.
Yeah, I know Keegan is still active on the Discord in VRS.
Now, there's a late one I sent Brian. I don't think we got it in the script in time, but I have it in my email, and it's the Charlotte Phoenix team, which is a new team to the NASCAR Coke Series called Charlotte Phoenix. And they are teaming up with Colin Keister and Graham Boland.
Is this kind of like a play on how Richmond Raceway is doing their own? Now they got two other tracks hopping in to co-sponsor?
Well, when I click on the Charlotte Phoenix, it says the flagship esports organization of the Carolinas. Join our community.
Okay, so it's basically, it is taking the Charlotte name though.
Now, when you scroll down in their feed, they do all kinds of esports. It's not just like this. It's other stuff, too.
That's two really solid drivers there, too. They weren't Final Fours, but they were in the hunt pretty much quite a few races last year. They were in the hunt to win. So they're really good drivers.
Graham Boland leading all the laps, I think, at one race, almost. Yeah, they're hot. So that's a late announcement. This came in this afternoon, but yeah, so there's still more to go.
So we've occasionally been running the Winter NIS League in the 87 cars. You think next year's Winter League might be in the 74 or 71 cars, Brian?
Yeah, this is really crazy. This is from a Facebook post from Petty's Garage. So that's Richard Petty's Garage. And they posted that Petty Motorsports has pulled down their iconic Richard Petty stock cars, including the 71 Plymouth Roadrunner and the 74 Dodge Charger. And they wrote in this post, and I'm quoting here, "All right, iRacing, we pulled these out of the Petty Museum for you. Come work your magic. There's a lot of people out there that would love to sit in the same seat as Richard Petty and blast through the Tri-Oval at Daytona." So they're almost asking iRacing to come scan these cars and put them on the service. And man, would that be a game changer or what?
There's no way that this isn't going to happen, especially when as soon as Dale hears that they want to do this, Dale will send them over there to do it.
He might pull the money right out of his pocket for him to do it.
When I saw this link and I was thinking of a title idea for this story, only one thing came to mind. Holy shitballs, Batman.
I think this would be absolutely a home run if they did this with one of the most iconic cars of its day.
Well, two of them, the 71 and the 74, quite different in design. The one with the huge, tall rear wing on the back and real pointy nose, and the other one more of the classic Charger look, with rounded corners.
But who doesn't remember these cars? You when you think of Richard Petty back winning in the 70s, this is exactly what you think of.
All I can say, iRacing, take my money.
And these cars are far enough in age from the 87s that it wouldn't be too much of a redundant type of deal. These are the 71 Plymouth. That's 16 years difference than the 87s that are on the service now. I mean, that's not even in the same ballpark as far as cars.
It's another era, right?
Completely different era. It's not close enough that it would be considered being a redundant type of deal.
What would be? I'm trying to think about what were the other like obviously Chevy and that would have had. Was it a Buick back then that would have fought with these? I'm trying to think of all the types of manufacturers that were back in the 70s that would have raced against them.
They raced against everybody else while he just took all the wins.
Yeah, but
so who was battling for second? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, who was it? Pearson was basically the other big guy at the time.
See, that's what they need to do is they got to find a Pearson car and have both, have this scanned with another manufacturer as well.
I hope. I'm pretty sure that Dale Jr. and iRacing were tagged on this post, but yeah, I sure hope that they saw it and take heed. For the petty garage to, hey, we got these all cleaned up. They're right here on the garage floor. Come on over. We'll have donuts and coffee for you.
iRacing needs to stay away from the piece of junk in the background though. That's on the hoist. Just stay away from that one though.
Before they have the donuts and coffee, though, they need to have their chicken dinner, Mike.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner, says none other than Martin Van Luzenoord, who is actually the winner of the Logitech G Challenge EMEA Open Wheel Championship. We've been talking about this over the last few months, I think, off and on, reminding people that it's going on. And yeah, so where have we heard this name before, Brian?
Well, he was the runner-up in the IR01 Jet Car Championship Series, and he was the runner-up. But he was pretty dominant in that series. He just got outpointed, basically because he had a couple bad races and got outpointed. But he won a fair majority of those World Championship races in that series. So he's a very accomplished driver, and he definitely keeps winning as he's going along here.
Yeah, I would say at the end of that, I mean, he was probably the favorite, to win it, and so it was a little disappointing to see him not make it. But it's nice to see this redemption and at least get this championship. And obviously some prizes with it.
If you remember, in the final race of the year, he was actually battling for the win with the eventual winner, and they made contact, and he lost a couple positions, and that turned out to be the difference in the championship.
All right, well done.
Well, we have the iRacing Top 10 highlights released for December 2021. I did get a chance to go ahead and watch this one all the way through. It was definitely very road heavy, and I think, in fact, only 9 or 10 was like a late pass at Bristol, which was some tight racing. But it was a lot of tight road racing. Most of them were 3 wide passes with some actual fender rubbing, as well as a crazy finish with 2 LMPs passing, like racing for position while at the same time on the white flag having to get around some GT cars.
I think the theme with this one is 3 wide racing was there 3 or 4 that are right from the Nordschleifer track as well?
Yeah, Nords was very heavily featured with some guys going 3 wide or 2 wide in places you're not supposed to go 2 wide.
I do have to say that LMP2 battle, when they exit the last 2 corners of the Red Bull ring, that there's just no room. There's no way that even should work, and to have it that tight of a finish is just unbelievable.
The last one in the video is just totally epic. I mean, they're going past the slower cars, dicing left and right, cut back, and then to come to the checker, and they're literally side by side, and you can't even tell who won.
Yeah, that was number one for the top 10, and I don't normally go chalk with those being my favorites, but I mean that was just amazing how they got around those two GT cars, crossing each other up, and it was just amazing. They were kind of side drafting down the last straightaway to try to pull ahead, and it was just an amazing finish. It was just fantastic.
Well, the orange car, that's like back when we were running Spa a couple years ago. That would have been a major slowdown, or at least it's a 1X. You probably did get in a 1X out there, but that's such a risky move with traction wise, trying to go out that wide. I know you can do it in these cars, but the risk and those other cars not to impede on where he went too.
As long as he doesn't get a slowdown, right? I mean, who cares about the 1X off track, though?
Yeah.
If you get a slowdown, you're going to have to give up the win.
How about those dirt tracks, Brian?
Yeah, this is cool. So iRacing announced that multiple dirt tracks will be added to the service, including the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, to be followed later in the year by Wheatland, Missouri's Lucas Oil Speedway and Pennsylvania's Port Royal Speedway. Announcements on multiple additional dirt ovals set to join iRacings will be made in the coming months. So alongside the upcoming dirt oval releases, Lucas Oil Speedway's off-road track will also join the iRacing service. So Lucas Oil will have not just the dirt oval, but they're going to have an off-road track, probably for the rally cars and the pro trucks. So we had heard earlier a couple months ago that iRacing was in the out scanning dirt tracks, and it looks like that's what's going down. So we got 3 of them. These are big tracks as far as drawing big events. They're all outlaw tracks. World Outlaws visits all 3 of these tracks. I know Pennsylvania's Port Royal Speedway is probably the biggest one of all of them. Would be the biggest dirt track, I think, size-wise, that will be on the service at that point. And we had heard about that one being scanned a while ago, but it's all confirmed now. And it sounds like there's more coming. So I'm still hoping that when they did Port Royal, they did a couple of other Pennsylvania tracks that are in the area that are real highly populated, very popular tracks. And so we'll see what else they did on that trip that they took.
Sounds like the next couple builds coming up are going to be very dirty.
So I think what's new to me anyway is the I-55 track at Peevely. That's a new announcement in this that I don't think I've heard that before.
Yeah, that's the first I had heard of I-55 too.
Right, and then the Lucas Oil Speedway out of Missouri as well.
Yep, that's the only one of those 3 that I had heard that they have done is Port Royal.
Right.
I had to get some insiders when Greg West was here, but he couldn't confirm any others.
Well, I mean, they left the door open there. In the next sentence, it says, announcements on multiple additional dirt ovals are set to join iRacing will be made in the coming months.
Yeah, that's right. And like I said, once you hit Pennsylvania, there's like 3 or 4 really big, heavily populated Pennsylvania posse tracks that are all really close to each other that could be scanned, within, I don't know how long it takes to do those scans, but you could do multiple ones really quickly.
So I'm gonna throw in a request for them to come scan Batesville, being the track that Mark Martin grew up on.
I'd like them to scan the Arizona Speedway out here by my house. Why not, What's cool is they have 3 in the works here that we know of, and several more coming this year. That's a lot of tracks, and dirt hasn't been around a long time. And if you think about how many tracks they have now, add on, let's say they do 7 more this year, they have a really nice catalog of tracks for dirt racing. I mean, when it first started, you're like, man, it's going to suck. You're always on the same track. But man, they're really building it out and setting it up for long-term success.
Well,
Yeah, or they're taking asphalt tracks like USA, and they make a dirt out of it, even though it's not technically a dirt track.
And linear.
And, yeah. So, and last year was the first year that the World of Outlaws series did not have to repeat tracks because they didn't have enough content. So, yeah, they're either going to have to pick and choose, next year's World of Outlaws series, which track they go to, or they're going to have to expand the season a little longer, maybe.
I just think it's interesting that they are able to, with the amount of the stuff that they've learned with the dirt, to make it, a very competitive racing, and how different dirt racing is from just creating an oval track, that they're able to get these scans done and make competitive tracks out of them all.
Well, for this next one, I have a question for the producer. Why in the world are we not giving this topic to Mike? He's our TikTok pro.
I think he was giving it to me because I was the one that brought it into the chat. So, Calum Racer, or Races, at Calum Races on TikTok, brought up a pro tip for
He's an Irish.
Checking out, what we've talked about. What do you call it? BOP, David? Balance of power for the roadside. Some cars are better at certain tracks than others, and a good way to find it on iRacing, there isn't one. We've been talking about it, and there is no real easy way to come up with your, which car's doing the fastest laps or what's the average and things like that. But Race Labs, which is a program that I use as well, they have a part in there where you can find out the best lap times for each car, but you can also find out what the average for those cars during that week is too, to try and come up with, say you own multiple cars in that, and you want to race the fastest car that week and find out which track it's fast, or which car is fastest on that track. Definitely a good tool to have from Race Labs to find that stuff out.
So you go into the Race Lab, you click which track, it shows you the cars and which one's fastest, average speed, and kind of shows them ranked for the week, like you said. So pretty neat tool. Check it out.
I remember last year around this time before the 24, someone went and did all these different individual tests with each of the cars. They did like acceleration, braking, and all kinds of different tests, and assigned positions 1 through 8, and he ranked all the cars, and actually did something where he did the best, the worst as far as his tests go.
Wasn't that iRacing's pro driver that they've got? I'm trying to think of his name. He races in the Winter League with us.
Yeah, it was one of the pro guys who used to be in the Porsche series.
But he's now an iRacing employee.
So I was thinking, I mean, this Race Labs tool is using real data to come up with the numbers. And there's so much data out there, like for this upcoming 24. If you've looked and hosted this week or last week or the week before, I have never, since I've been in iRacing, seen as many rooms up as I've seen and hosted. And I think when Tyler and Brian and I were testing the other day, Tyler sat down and counted how many Daytona practice rooms there were. I think he said 24.
24. What a funny number to come across on for the 24. I think it's just there's so many customers. I think this is going to be one of the biggest turnout numbers for an endurance race in years, because of the amount of customers that iRacing has now. And this would be it's only 2 class race now, is it not, David? It's GT3s and the LMP1 or 2s, right? That's all we have. So it might be more attractive when you're racing it too.
All right, the other reason it's going to be a fantastic race, we got a tweet from Maxime Briant. He tweeted out that his team was kicked off the server in the R Factor 2's virtual Le Mans series. In his opinion, proving, quote, why iRacing remains the best sim, quote.
Well, and I think he would have been very competitive in it too, because they were doing the actual 24 hours of Le Mans, because Max Verstappen was in that race. Yeah. Which he crashed out of that race as well. But yeah, they had their chance at some stuff, and it looked okay. But you know, from what he's saying, if there were server issues for him and his team, it's not a good look.
Yeah, I kind of paid attention to see how their race went, their 24-hour Le Mans, and Coanda finished second. Man, do they have a facility? I mean, they must have gotten some money or backing, because they've really built out their facility. They have like a place where they can host people while they race, and it's crazy. You have to go on the Instagram stories to find it.
So what do we have? We have Coanda that has a facility. Williams has a facility. There's a bunch of them coming out now.
Team Redline.
Yep.
And Brian, who won't be racing the 24?
Yeah, this was a really sad video to watch. It's from YouTuber Annie Rabbits, and you guys were following her on the show before I even joined it. I remember listening to you guys when you first found Annie, and her career through iRacing. You know, she's come such a long way from a complete new driver to I remember her posting her first video of her first win, how emotional she got when she got her first win. She's just been a great follow for anybody who enjoys iRacing. And she posted a video that she's going to be missing the Daytona 24. And this is something I haven't heard from her, is that she's been having health issues over the past 12 years. And she's been undiagnosed with her issues for a while, and they finally got it figured out that she's been struggling with endometriosis, and so this was just her telling her story about what she's gone through for the past dozen years. How things have been with her, and her struggles, but. She's going to be she's going to be missing the Daytona 24. It actually doesn't have anything to do with her endometriosis. It's actually a shoulder surgery that she has to get. But she is going to be missing that, and we're wishing her, giving her our best wishes and best prayers as she struggles through her health problems.
Yeah, and so sorry she's going to miss the race. I understand that some of her followers are running a logo on their car, and remember, based on her endometriosis story and whatnot.
And she also said that her husband is going to be racing for her. So, if anything, that's a nice little touch a nice way for him to actually get into the race for her, and hopefully get a good finish. Have a great time.
I'm sure she'll be cheering him on.
Well, I hope feeding him sandwiches and finger foods as he's in the car. Yeah.
Who's giving you finger foods and sandwiches when you're driving, Mike?
Oh. Well, I'm just having a short stint. I got to work this weekend, so we'll be running Saturday night for 2 or 3 hours.
We saw David Flowers practicing for you. Are you sure you guys don't want to bring him back this year?
We got a new ringer in the car.
Yeah.
Those World of Outlaws. That was crazy, Brian. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, what a crazy race this was. So this was week 8 of the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Series. They were competing at the quarter-mile track at Fairbury Speedway Monday night. And it was just a crazy night. So it started off with Evan C. He was the fastest qualifier. He won the first heat that night, and so he was going to start on the pole in the feature.
Yeah, and then Alex Bergeron started side by side in row number 2 with rival Hayden Cardwell in the second heat. Cardwell took the lead in the heat, ripping the high line, but made a rare mistake hitting the wall and crashing out of the race, with Bergeron finishing second.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Because Cardwell started in the 4th spot in that heat. He made his way to the lead. He's so good there's nobody who runs a high line better than Hayden Cardwell does. And it's just, that's a short track. You're carrying so much speed in those corners, and he just clipped the wall, and he just completely flipped. And that was pretty much the end of his night. So Cameron Merriman, who started second in points, just 8 points behind Alex Bergeron. He finished second in his heat, so that meant Cameron Merriman and the points leader Alex Bergeron were going to start pretty much right next to each other when the feature started.
Alex Bergeron had a great start from row 3 and was in 3rd place and hunting down the leaders when a caution came out on lap 9. While pacing before returning to the green, Alex Bergeron loses his internet connection and would finish P16 15 laps down, leaving a huge opportunity for Merriman.
Yeah, this is actually the second race of the season where Bergeron has lost his internet connection, and so Bergeron was leading the points. He dropped all the way down to P16 after that outage. But Merriman, he takes huge advantage of Bergeron's misfortune. He takes the race lead, and he's maintaining a comfortable lead as he's going into the final laps of the race. So Merriman was going in turn 4, coming to the white flag with 1 to go, when he inexplicably smashes the wall and crashes himself out of the race.
Ooh. Then pole sitter Evan Say takes advantage of all that carnage and takes his second win of his rookie season. After all shakes out, Merriman finishes 2 places ahead of Bergeron, allowing Alex to hold a narrow 4-point lead into week 9 at another bull ring, Weed Sport Speedway. That guy's got to be kicking himself.
All right, you got me? Okay, sorry. So it was just crazy. After Alex Bergeron, he disconnects, pretty much goes to the back of the field when he comes back on, like a dozen laps down. And Merriman, he takes the lead of the race. He's looking at a 40-point swing in points at that point, with 2 races to go after this. That's certainly not something that can't be overcome, but that is almost walking away with it. And he just crashes into the wall with just over a lap to go and just blows the whole thing. It was just insane. He was not under pressure by anyone behind him or anything. It was just that he's just running too fine of a line, and he should have just taken it easy. Maybe his knuckles got a little too white for his liking. And I know Chase Rodman, who was calling the race, called it biggest choke job he's ever seen. That might have been a little tough, but that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, you never know. Somebody could have walked up to him in the room and interrupted the race. That's been known to happen.
Dog jumped on his lap.
Okay, Greg, we got a P2 for the iRacing colors.
So Christopher Vell, I think we report on this every year. He's in the iRacers iRacers color or iRacing car for the Chili Bowl, and he came up 1 spot behind Tanner. Is it Thorson? Last weekend's Chili Bowl, and almost brought the iRacing colors home. So, car looks really good. Looked like it was a good event, but I never get to see this event because I don't ever try and find the stream of it. But we don't. Nothing's ever covered on TV here for dirt stuff.
So I added this to the script, even though we already had announced that Christopher Bell was racing this iRacing car. But I added this to the event for one reason, and that was because I did watch this whole race. They go from the C main. They had 2 C mains, 2 Bs, and then they had the feature race. And it's almost like a 5-hour broadcast by the time it's done. It was on MAV TV. If you get that, it's a DirecTV channel. It's not available on all cable networks. But the reason I brought this up is, there's a lot of downtime in this broadcast. The tracks are being reworked all the time. There's, there's all these cars have to be pushed to start, so that takes a while. It's just a lot of downtime in this broadcast, and I'm thinking to myself, why is iRacing not the world of the Chili Bowl Nationals that iRacing broadcast, at least highlights shown on this broadcast. There's plenty of downtime on this broadcast for them to do something simple like this. They obviously have a relationship with iRacing. They've done the deal where they've helped them rework the track last year after the track was out of whack, and so I just thought that would have been so easy to do a couple minutes, if that, of just a highlight of the National Chili Bowl Championship on iRacing.
Boy, what a great idea. But take it one step further. Instead of showing a replay, let's run these iRacing events live and have them offset when there's downtime at the real track. So there's always action on MAV TV. So, okay, we're leaving the Chili Bowl. We're going to the virtual Chili Bowl. We're going to watch heat number 1 here, and there they go.
So what are you going to have to do, though, for the guys who do both? All right, is Chris Bell going to jump right out of the dirt midget and go over to his iRacing rig?
Ooh, that would be cool. You set up a rig there at the back of the trailer. Okay, he's hopping out of the real car. He's strapping into the virtual.
Right, and that was just something I was thinking about because I did watch a good bit of the iRacing top split or the finals of the Chili Bowl, and it was a really good race. And then while I'm watching the broadcast, there's just so much downtime. They have tons of interviews while the tracks are being worked on. They have all kinds of different things that they're just using to fill time. And it would just been so easy to prop in something like that.
Good idea. I always say this is a good idea. I think every year, David, you reminded me that I say this is a good idea.
He's like, we should all watch it. We should all run this. We should all run this because it's and then we run like one race and it's like, this sucks. I mean, everybody can run it, but really the effort to be super competitive, it just takes you have to go to a whole different level. But the NASCAR qualifying Road to the Pro iRacing Series is coming up. You have to have an A license 2.0 to qualify. The first race is February 17th at Daytona. There's 8 races in the first round. After 8 races, you have to be in the top 70. Then after that, there's another 7 races where I guess they're going to do the snake split thing again to whittle it down to 20 drivers. And at that point, those 20 drivers go on with the 20 relegated drivers from the Coke Series to in the Contender Series.
Yep. But it's open to everybody, and why not? It'll split just like any other official race. Trucks, the tracks look great. I mean, they're all oval asphalt, no nasty road courses or anything like that, in the first segment. So every other Thursday, so they're running it on Thursday nights. And I was just telling the guys, look, it's almost like running a league, every other week you don't get burned out on it. It's not it's not too often. The every other week thing's kind of nice, and why not? Maybe I'll run it just for fun. But like you said, we usually try and then we give up. But hey, Adam said he would try.
Yeah, good luck with that one with Adam.
I only know of one Tifosi driver who's won a top split race before.
That's right. Help wanted.
Yeah, guys, this came from one of our teammates, Bobby Jonas, and this is a posting from NASCAR for a job opening. So why are we commenting on a NASCAR job opening? Well, it's for the position is for the director of gaming and esports. So that's pretty interesting that NASCAR is. I don't know if this. I'm wondering if this is a new position or one that needs to be filled by someone leaving or something. But I'm surprised they didn't have a gaming and esports director already after all they've gone through, all their connections with iRacing over the past couple of years.
I think this is an addition. I think they had that one guy who's I forget his name. They have a guy who kind of does this, but I bet you they're adding this, as depth, to get into the nitty gritty. It's also telling, that they're, you look at the job description here, develop enterprise-wide digital gaming initiatives to meet strategic growth and revenue objectives. So they're talking about the console market. They're talking about the PC market, both. Okay, so we're going to jump into current events. Listeners sent this one in to us, Prelude to the Daytona 500, and sponsored by Butt Kicker. It is going to be Saturday, February 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be broadcast by Full Send. They're going to have payouts, guaranteed 300 to win. And so for more info, I guess you're going to have to go to our script and look up their Discord link, because that's where you get more info. Or look it up on the socials. Prelude to the Daytona 500.
Look, these guys are going to run stages. That's kind of new.
Different.
Yeah, I've only done one other race before in stages, and that was with what's that league with Kyle, where we did the iRock series. It was kind of fun.
I don't know. Every time I get in a race with heats, I'm bored because I'm sitting there waiting for my turn.
And every time you get in a race without cautions, you're always begging for one.
I was last night, wasn't I? Well, let's talk about the big race this weekend. I asked my team, is it Friday or Saturday? And so I was told Saturday we're running.
Yeah, the first time slot actually starts before most of us get home from work. That'll be mostly for Aussies running. And then there's one that starts at like 1 a.m. Eastern. But what's I guess going to be considered the biggest, most populated start time is going to be the 12 GMT slot, the third start. And RaceBot has announced that they're going to be broadcasting the top split.
That's amazing. And the full 24 hours, too.
Yeah, you can get live timing and scoring at racebot.tv/timing. They also are going to have a Discord server running, as well as a Twitter feed with hashtag iRacing Daytona 24.
All right, let's talk about our Team Tifosi preparations here. So, Tony, Team Fun, we've all been practicing. I ran a practice race. Did pretty good. I actually spun out of the bus stop twice by hitting the curb wrong and didn't hurt the car, but was fast compared to others.
Yeah, I've been doing some practicing too. Been racing with AI because I don't have a B license. So I can't jump into like an IMSA race and go that route. But I'm not fast, but I'm keeping it on the road. So I guess that's important.
Okay, and we got our paint today from Brandon Uhouse, painted up our car. It looks really good. Thanks, Brandon. We posted that up on the social so everybody could see it. Brian, you and Tyler and we ran some practice as well. How did your practice go?
It's going okay. I practiced a couple more times this week. Last 2 nights I put in an hour or so. I'm feeling like I can definitely keep it on the pavement, so that's a good thing. I actually even went to Tyler's house the other day and practiced with him for a little bit on his rig. So so I'm fairly confident I'm going to be able to keep it clean at least. I'm not going to be setting any track records, that's for darn sure. But I'm planning on saving a lot of time by not being sitting on the pit road.
Yeah, we talked tire strategy. We're going to run at least 2 fuel runs before we change tires. You can't change tires every fuel run. That's just not going to happen. So maybe even 3 fuel runs. What do you think about that, David?
No, not in the GT3.
So every 2.
Yeah, especially early because when the track screen is going to chew the tires up. Most of us have either run some IMSA races or I know Richard, who's running with us, has run some practices and got his times down to where they need to be. But I haven't heard from him if he's been able to run any IMSA races. Me and Greg ran a couple. I've ran some every night, just about. I started one today, in fact, and I literally started on the grid next to Fast Pasta, and then for some reason, I guess probably because I was wanting to run as fast as Fast Pasta, I kept spinning out. So
yeah, I ran the other night with David. Did 2 races. I'm planning on doing. I think I'm going to do the one after the podcast here tonight too. Just because I want to try something different. But I have the speed. I've just got to find some consistency. I feel like I got the speed that I had last year. I just got to get back to my consistency where mistakes aren't happening. But yeah, definitely found some extra speed in a brake adjustment I made, and everything seems to be on par again.
Do you think this will be the biggest event ever for iRacing so far? I think it will be.
I would say that Saturday one will probably have the biggest single slot over the whole period. I bet you're probably right too, Mike. It'll probably be the biggest amount of teams / drivers in it.
Like I had mentioned in previous weeks, I've never seen so much traffic in the forums of drivers looking for teams looking for drivers. Like I said, in the hosted section, I've never seen so many rooms in my life and hosted. And so, yeah, it's just setting up to be like the most populated race ever.
So a couple things I wanted to bring up about this. We had that story earlier about the R Factor 2 having an issue at Le Mans. Well, some of the posts where that guy said that iRacing is the best sim. Some of the replies on that were like, you guys remember last year at Daytona 24, we were delayed for, I don't know, what was it, an hour, 2 hours, something like that. Because,
3 or 4.
Because they were having issues with the server. So I'm hoping they got that all ironed out and we don't have that issue, because it's looking like, I agree with you, Mike, it's looking like this might be the biggest special event they've ever had. And it's a multi-class, multi-driver event. So there's a couple extra wrenches to throw into that as well.
You just jinxed it.
Well, there is a change that they have made to it. Remember, they made a change after that to the way that the servers load people into it. So that was to fix this problem, and hopefully Brian didn't just jinx it. So anybody that's listening, if it goes wrong, you can at Mick Rubin on Twitter and just attack him for it.
Hashtag blame Brian.
If it goes wrong, we'll actually have to mess with our schedule a little bit, because on Saturday I'm starting us at like 7 or 6 in the morning my time, but I have to be at a judges meeting at 9 online to listen to oboes and bass clarinets all day for the region. So
that's okay. If you can't make the start, I'll do it, David.
No, what we'll do is we'll cut it down to 2 starts. You ain't starting shit.
So,
You fast, but you suck at starting.
Oh, come on.
So I also remember last year that they were urging people to use the UI rather than the website. I don't remember hearing anything about that this year.
Nope.
Are they assuming that everybody's on UI, or do you think that's a good idea to do everybody use UI?
I'm just wondering if they're just really confident this year that nothing's going to happen. Maybe that's why they're not trying to force it.
Or they're thinking it may be better on the system if it's split one in half, so that neither one of the two options get hammered.
That's a good point.
I haven't
heard anything.
It depends on certain things. If it's just a normal race, I use the actual website. But if it's like a team event or a league, obviously I go through the UI.
All right, let's keep moving.
I've been using the website because when you use the UI and I'm using a Sim Commander, I lose the ability to talk to crew chief. He doesn't recognize my commands. So I think I'm able to sacrifice that in order to make sure it's stable. Though it's not the end of the world to not be able to tell him to not change my tires. I can do that while I'm driving.
So just make sure when whoever registers your team, you register the right car as well. We don't want to have mishaps like that for the endurance races.
And last question I had was, is this starting at noon? In sim time, is that the time it is when you start the race?
Hang on.
I believe that's when the actual 24 starts is on noons.
It's starting effectively at 1:40, I believe. The session starts at 1, but with the warm up and the qualifying session, the clock will be rolled to 1:40, I think.
Yeah, but is that in sim time? You know what I mean? Does the sim start? Okay. All right. Cool.
I could be wrong, but we'll find out maybe by watching or checking the Aussie start.
Right. So I got a listener who sent this in. They do drag racing, and he wants to explain how he does this. So I'm going to read some of it. We do an open practice at Sonoma using the drag strip. The car choices were the 87 Cup or Asphalt Legends. We had pre-registration to ensure an even bracket. Every admin spammed clear all penalties so drivers could do a U-turn out of pit road. People waited in a parking lot area in between the pit road entrance and pit road. I controlled the bracket, calling drivers to the line, and called whoever is next to the staging area a little behind the start line. It was my job to watch an overhead camera of the start line, directing drivers on how to line up evenly. Another admin was parked between both lanes in an LMP2 car. I called out live on the lights, and then 3 to 5 seconds later, Max would flash the headlights of the LMP2 car to signal the start of the race. James Batzer is the gentleman who runs the MDI TV. He's broadcasting every event. Every class is put in a bracket. Everything is single elimination until it's down to the last two. Then the final two guys do the best 2 out of 3. The first event went super well. Almost everyone who participated asked when the next event would be, and many watching commented on asking how they could enter the next one. And so they're going to do it every other Sunday at 9 p.m. It's going to stick with the 2-car classes until we get growing. And so people should follow the MDI TV Facebook page or join MDI TV Discord for upcoming announcements about the drag racing events. Pretty cool. I like the way that they start the cars with the flash of the headlights.
Yeah, I've heard of them doing drag racing at Sonoma before. I just never knew how they pulled it off, but apparently that's pretty intuitive how they do that. It's really neat. Hopefully it maybe gets iRacing's attention to where they might start thinking about doing proper drag racing. That'd be interesting.
Why can't we just have another configuration of Sonoma, called drag strip? And it takes care of these little problems, like they have to clear the flags when they pull out of the pit.
Yeah, there's a couple other tracks that have drag races, not on the track, but right outside.
Charlotte, Bristol.
Lucas Oil, too. Yeah, Bristol.
Yeah, Charlotte has the 4 wide.
Okay, couple other current events, Greg.
So the Podium 500 will be taking place, or being moved into the next generation, as they call it, on February 13th of 2022, because they will be running in the new next gen car. And so if you want to sign up for it, you go to podiumesports.com/podium500 to register it.
Did Bobby say he's going to run it?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything on it. He does every year normally, but who knows with scheduling if it will work. Isn't it the 13th? Is that a weekend? Is that when the Clash is?
13th should be the Saturday before the 500.
So that's the Clash weekend, is it not?
Which is not in Daytona.
February 13th is Sunday, actually.
Oh, okay.
Aren't they making the LA Coliseum basically the Clash this year?
Yep.
Oh, wait, no. So it would be, they'll probably have this the weekend of the qualifying / stuff, right? And then the Clash is separate the weekend before the Super Bowl, is it not? I can't remember now how it goes.
Well, if you want to run the Podium 500, big money, big prizes, big competition, do it.
Yeah, lots of entries. They have. I remember doing the heat races in them last year. You had to finish high to qualify to the next level. It's a very competitive race.
Okay, OBRL Metro Cup.
Hey guys, just to bring this up one more time. So OBRL is a great league. The Metro Cup is their Sunday morning cup league. It's 40 weeks long. They're going to be paying out some big money thanks to some new great sponsorships they've got. Of course, they have always had the Metro Ford as a sponsorship. They also have a new sponsorship from Kimball and Victory Lane Sports to help make all this great payouts that they have available. It's a 40-week season. There's prize money not just for winning and the top 10, but also for safety awards and hard chargers. So a lot of different ways you can win money in this league. So go ahead and sign up at OBRL or oldbastardracing.com and get your membership in quick, because it's coming up quick. And like I said, it's a great league. You do have to be 35 years or older to be considered an old bastard, and you have to have an I rating of under 3,500. You got banned. You're banned.
I'm not allowed. I'm too aggressive.
Okay, housekeeping notes. Don't forget the Aftermath podcast. I have no idea what they're doing. Maybe we'll record during the 24. I submitted our podcast to the Speed Sport Podcast Network this week to see if we can get added over there. Don't forget our website, iRacersLounge.com, and we got the Discord link up in our script now, so check that out. We're actually getting some activity over there. And this week I actually put in some of the topics that we have on the script to try to get some conversation going. David, one of those conversations was third-party apps, and I asked, why doesn't iRacing integrate all this functionality into the sim to eliminate the need for the third-party app?
Because the third-party apps do such a good job of it.
Right, but
Quite frankly.
surely they could. I mean, for example, go to the spotter and have the spotter add a countdown to pit road. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Guess what? That would eliminate most people's need for sim racing apps, or the one that counts down. crew chief.
I look at it this way, and I think this is we had this conversation. I think we were trying to discuss it would cut down maybe on some CPU usage and memory usage in the background with all these apps that we have open. But I think about any other. Well, yeah, that's the thing. When you add things into it, it takes more resources in iRacing as well. So the thing that I was thinking about is most communities when they make a game. So even say Papyrus when they first came out, when they had NASCAR 2003. The mod community, you have to think of these third-party apps as like the mod community for like that, where they were making things in the background. These community stuff is what kind of drives the passion of this too. So I think if iRacing starts taking a step and adding stuff in like that, it kind of defeats the purpose of others' passions to build stuff through to make it a better program.
I'm saying let them build it, don't change that, keep the API open. I'm just saying, it's low-hanging fruit. I mean, how hard would it be to add a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to the spotter, for example, or some of these other things that we use the third-party apps for? I just think it would make sense for iRacing to look at those items and try to integrate them. So check out the Discord if you guys want to get involved in the conversations. We're also on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Okay, it's hardware time, and we're talking Thrustmaster first. There are some new details out about the Thrustmaster DD that is emerging. And the gist of the article is that they're saying they've announced that every add-on that's coming out of the Thrustmaster product line will be compatible with their new direct drive.
Okay, and so they're pretty much confirmed they're doing a direct drive.
I just think I hope Thrustmaster in in their future endeavor here with the direct drive, they said that their future add-ons will be all compatible with it, but it takes Thrustmaster a long time to come up with to bring out different products. So I'm just hoping it's, if they're going to bring out different rims and things like that to go with it, I just hope they don't have long periods of time in between each one if they got different ideas, right? If they make an oval rim and then they have an F1 style rim or a GT style rim or something like that, make sure you kind of build up your customer, your base parts here so that, people only don't have one option to run or trying to find aftermarket options so that it stays in company.
I think it's going to be a little bit more challenging for them now because there's already so many of the lower end direct drive options available now that people are jumping in on it. You've got the new CSL DD, the Sim Magic is out there, right? VRS is putting theirs out. So Fanatec's got one now that's compatible with PlayStation 5, apparently. So I think with all these cheaper options being out there, it's going to be, they're just probably realizing they're starting to get left behind.
Yeah, there's articles here from gtplanet.net as well as traxion.gg about this, and they're basically teasing it. It's not ready. It's not for sale yet, and we don't know a price. So
we got some breaking news.
Yeah.
They said the next drop is coming January 20th. Well, that's today. And I looked it up, and I shared the link with you guys. The next bit of information that they release with this new direct drive wheel is that it will come with next-gen quick release locks. So that's the next drop of information that they just announced today. The next set of information after today is going to be on March 3rd, 2022.
You think they're clever, dropping hints about their DD, I don't know.
Doesn't that seem like if they're going to do hints like this, it's so far out for the next one. I can see okay, drop a hint this week, drop a hint next, do it week by week or something, not every 2 months. Especially since that wasn't that's a good announcement, but that's not it's earth-shattering announcement, right?
Well, remember that their market share is not us, right? Their market share is your PlayStation owners and Xbox owners that are going to go buy.
But it says it's not compatible with them. It is not compatible with the new systems. From what I was just seeing.
They're going to put something out that's not compatible with the newer systems, or are they going only for PC?
Let me just, I'm going to go back and look through it.
So the GT Planet indicates this one is PC only.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I just read too.
Well, historically, they've not marketed to the same kind of client that's buying what we buy.
Sounds like they're trying to enter this market and have a footprint into it more, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess these drops are just ways of giving you little hints what's going on to make it not seem like it's so long until it comes out.
Well, Mike, since you're such a great fan of third-party apps, how about the iRacing Assistant?
Yeah, this is a must-have. I resurfaced this because Greg is going to be switching between VR and triples, and this is the best and easiest way to do it with this app. The app does other stuff as far as binding of buttons between wheels as you switch between cars. I use it specifically to open all my third-party apps at once. So basically, I turn my computer on, I click on iRacers Assistant. There's a big old start button. You hit start, I walk away, I come back, and all, 6 different things that I need open are open and ready to go.
I've gone to another solution for that. That all my regular apps that I run, I've pinned them all to the taskbar, and I can pop them that way, and they're always located in the same place on the taskbar every time whenever they're open as well.
So, Greg, that link is for you.
I definitely have it bookmarked and ready for when my rig arrives and I get it built. So,
well, Greg, do you think this next one is exceptional?
This might be the exception to that, because every time I look at this, I've seen it in the script. We've had it in the script for a couple weeks here, I think, and it kind of reminds me of a bobsled when you look at it first. But so from the Drive X Sim Instagram page, they have posted an image of their motion sled. I'm gonna call it a motion sled. Their rig, and it's pretty nice looking. It's basically
it's a toboggan on motion.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I was gonna say it's got the front. It almost reminds me of like the front of an airplane type too, or something like that. Just the way that it looks, and then a seat sitting on the bottom part of the frame, and then the rest of it's surrounded by the motion part of it. So this looks like it's a concept right now, is it not, from what I'm reading here, Mike?
Well, check the website. I mean, they got a really nice looking website, and it's got a pivot point in the center bottom. So it is sitting on a pivot, and the front has, hydraulic up and down on each corner, and the back has something similar. But yeah, I mean, it's really a cool look.
Yeah, those actuators on the back look like it would be for yaw, where it would rotate it on that center pivot point, and the front 2 actuators lifted up and down for up and down motion. So it sounds like it's going to be a full 6 degree of motion.
So what the mechanisms they're calling is electric dual actuators, a universal ball joint, and a pushrod dual damper. I'm not a huge motion guy. I don't know. Do you know what that says there, Brian?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. The actuators are the push pulls are in the front. The ball ball universal joint is in the center. So that center ball joint is going to let it move in any direction that you make it. And then there's dampeners on the back, or the arms that connect to the very back of the seat, behind the seat, and will control left and right movement.
So it looks like, I'm just guessing here, the retail on it is 1.9 million yen, from what I saw on the one part of the site here.
Yeah, it is listed in yen. I was trying to look up where they're from. I found a phone number. The phone number is actually based out of Israel.
Because it definitely has a heavy Japanese option here on the site.
Yeah, when I first found this Instagram, I couldn't find their website, and I actually commented on their post and asked them, "Hey, what's your website?" And they sent it to me. So, but when you went Googling it, I couldn't find it by Google.
So they're saying their slogan, we are the company that is chasing dreams and cars, is what they call themselves, or their mission statement.
Well, then they're running in the wrong place.
All right, pretty cool. This is way cool, Brian. We were talking about this the other night. Sim Cabin.
Yeah, this is cool. So this is from John Watts. This is the name of the fella. And so he started a project in late 2020 during the lockdown. So he posts that, with 2 kids and a 3-bedroom house, there just wasn't enough space for VR sim racing and flight simulation. So I built a dedicated cabin in my garden. The cabin was built from scratch, and the cockpit was rebuilt from a next level GT, with the entire wheel stand being built from 5mm thick sheet steel to give it completely rigid structure. Because the cockpit is a hybrid for racing and flying, he has 2 sets of pedals on a slider, so they can be moved forward and tilted up to switch between flying and racing. So this is what this guy built in his yard. So it's a cabin. It's very nicely decorated too. On the outside, it's got nice LED lights. It's landscaped around there with crushed stone at the entrance and a little picket fence. And that's where he goes to do his racing, man. That's pretty cool.
I love it. I mean, one time we saw the sim racing van where the guy, put the rig in his van out in front of his house, so he could escape the family. But this is like taking it to the next level. I mean, you build a shed in the backyard basically and set up there.
Wasn't Van Guy also SWAT guy?
Now he put pictures up of it, so the outside looks like a nice, work shed, or it's actually nicer than a shed. It's like a really tiny house, big windows and a door and whatnot. And but inside, I mean, all electronic look, with lights and colors everywhere, and obviously equipment.
What does the cooling have to be like in that thing? That would be really, really warm. In this middle of the summertime, I'm sure it'd be really hot in that cabin.
You'd need a window AC or something.
Yeah, I mean, Coanda or Redline or Williams, eat your heart out with this one.
Might not need heat though in the winter.
Yeah, I don't know where he's located, but pretty cool. Next up, a huge GPU price drop coming in 2022. PC Builder speculates that this is going to happen. Now, there's a few reasons. A few reasons he pointed out in the video was the GPU mining market for crypto is kind of reaching this saturation point, and a lot of people are offloading these video cards. In fact, I actually ran across an Instagram ad last night trying to sell me a 3090, and it was like $100 or something. And I'm like, God, this got to be a ripoff.
You don't want one of those.
Used mining card.
You don't want to use. You don't want to buy anything that's been part of a mining at all.
But his speculation was because of that flood of the market from the mining cards, that's going to drive down these over exorbitant costs that we've seen on GPUs.
I would try one of those for $100. That's worth the gamble.
I mean, if you're in between waiting on getting one, yeah, it's it's not a bad gamble at all. But with your luck with the electronics right now, David, I wouldn't do it.
Well, it could be a strategy change up because everything I bought new hasn't been working. Of course, actually the Reverb is working great. The Rift was just had its time.
You need a new system at some point.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later though, because I got a workaround.
So my prediction is that these GPU prices will drop right when the next level of 4000 series come out. They will now be way more expensive than the ones that were just overpriced before.
That's always the number one thing that drops the value of them, right? Next year's model's coming out.
Right. Obsolescence.
Well, and we got a new player coming. Don't forget, Intel is going to have a card this year. So as a third manufacturer comes in, I hope that drives some pricing too.
Well, Greg, what do you think of this Rexing wheel?
I was just looking at this. So this was posted on the Rexing Steering Wheel's Instagram page. It's their new Rexing GT wheel. Looking at it, it's a really nice. I guess we call it a GT. What we call it? I guess it's a GT rim completely, but a carbon fiber body on it. It's got illuminated push buttons, multi switches on it. It's a US. I guess you got a USB-D 480 display and an RGB LEDs with RGB LEDs. I think this is one of the really nicer looking GT rims out there from this company. It's I don't know. What do you guys think of this type of rim from them?
High end. I mean, 1,340 euros. We've seen Rexing before. We've talked about them. I just don't think they're as popular as some of the other ones, but they make great stuff. I mean, this is high end, very high end look.
Yeah, it looks like pretty close to the Ferrari lineup as far as where the buttons are put, but it's got a lot of knobs, buttons, switches. Also, you look at the online or the on-screen LEDs. You've got both the horizontal bar across, probably for your rev limiter, but on the right and left, you also have 3 LEDs, which are probably giving you anti-lock brake and traction control loss data.
Or they could be flags, maybe flags, or low fuel warnings or something like that.
That too.
These guys are Croatia.
So what would you add? What would that work for? Does it work with most quick release on some of these direct drive rims, and you just plug it into a USB?
I'm guessing, yeah.
I haven't done enough research on some of these other rims to try and add these together with something else. If you had a Fanatec and you wanted a different type of rim with it, or say you had a SimiCube and you wanted a different type of rim with it, where you would run a separate USB from the actual base.
I clicked over to the Formula rim they offer. It's very similar look and layout as the GT version. And so they would kind of even match. If you had one GT, one F1, that would look cool because they match. But 1,280 euros for that one.
So you're 2,000 euros in to have 2 nice rims.
And only one who thinks that who would be curious as whether those paddle shifters might be a little flimsy. They're not solid paddle shifters. They're kind of like loop shaped, where there's just a material going around it. There's nothing in the center for extra support. I know when I'm doing shifting, I tend to slam on those things pretty hard. Do you think that might be a weak point?
I'm guessing they're carbon fiber, just like I'm just trying to find out here if there's any information on it. But if they're carbon fiber like them, they ain't gonna break.
They may not be very comfortable though. It is weird. I noticed that too. And I was like, what?
Like, it just does it not seem like, I obviously started probably trying to keep some weight down maybe by doing that, but it just seems unnecessary for something that doesn't weigh a lot, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine that. It's probably just a design. They like the design of it, I guess.
All right. Well, the next thing was a windowed borderless question that was brought up, and this person was just getting confused on if they're running windowed or full screen or windowed borderless. How do they know if they've got focus or not? Should they use Alt Tab or Alt Enter or both? I guess they're switching back and forth between full screen and windowed borderless, because that's what Alt Enter does, right? That actually that pops you into full screen, whereas Alt Tab is what you do to switch to other software. Mike, I saw you chimed on this. Somebody mentioned what they do. The neatest reply on here, though, other than suggesting that you make sure you go ahead and click on the window to make it active, the neatest reply was that you can set the position of the iRacing window to -1 in the file or something, and that way your taskbar will always show, so you can see what has focus. And the reason focus is important is because if you're trying to run macros or anything, like you have a key that clears your tires, if you still have, say, Facebook Messenger running instead of as the focus, it'll just type it into the Messenger chat and leave it there.
So I chimed into this post because I saw a lot of bad ideas. I mean, they were telling him, but I think Alt Tab and even Alt Enter are bad ideas when you're running in this mode. This is the mode I always run in, windowed borderless. And I have the Windows taskbar to minimize automatically because I don't want to see that. But I want full access to any app on my Windows computer, even while I'm racing. And so the way I leave iRacing to do that, I hit the Windows key. Now, when I hit the Windows key, the taskbar comes up. Then I can use the mouse and click on whatever app I need to click on. And so it's super handy. If you have triples, you're not doing it right if you're not doing it windowed borderless, in my opinion. To run full screen and have to fool with the Alt Enter crap, why bother? I mean, this is way easier and just more manageable. Like I want to switch over to OBS real quick and hit start stream or something. I mean, it's super easy when you're windowed.
So this is another suggestion for me, Mike?
Yep, it is.
Brian, it looks like you can actually install your own rumble pedals into Logitech pedals, or I guess any other pedals.
Yeah, this will work on any pedals. He does the video. So this is from AM Studio. He posted this on YouTube. It's a DIY instructions for how to put rumble pedals on your Logitech or really any other pedals. But he uses Logitech pedals in the video. So it's the rumble pedals are kind of like, I know I have them on my Fanatec V3s, inverted V3s, where there's a rotating knob on the behind the pedal that's mounted right behind the pedal, and it's off center, it's off weighted, so it's when it spins, it shakes your pedal, and that can be set in iRacing for information like locking your brakes or stuff like that. So and it can be So these can be mounted to your Logitech pedals to achieve that same effect. And he shows you how to do it. It's pretty cool. So it's a neat feature to have because it does give you some good feedback as far as, especially with the brakes, as far as locking your brakes. It's a really good input to have, and he shows you how to do it. So check that out if it's something you're interested in.
Yeah, if you're able to send a specific sound to each pedal, I would recommend putting on the throttle the tire slip, because that's when you're going to be in the tire. So you can, particularly when you're running an oval, you can tell how hard you're abusing the tires, so you don't end up on a 50-lap run with 12% left on your right front.
And I think that's what Fanatec has pre-installed for their rumbles on their pedals. But yeah, it's good feedback to have for sure.
So in the description of the YouTube video, he gives a parts list with links. So you can literally figure out what to buy and build these yourself based on the video. The Rumble motors he's using are from Xbox 360 controllers. And so, I mean, all you need is some old controllers and, pick them apart, or you can buy these parts off of eBay is the link he's got.
David, would this be something you would add to a hydraulic setup too, you think, or would you just leave it as a hydraulic setup?
It'd be a good add if you didn't already have a butt kicker. I think the butt kicker kind of replaces these pretty well, but this would be a good option if I didn't have the butt kicker, yeah.
Exactly. With the butt kicker going, you probably wouldn't even feel this, because that can put out so much power.
Okay, next up, Tony Gross, who left early, found this one for us. It's an ex-Rimac engineer, built his own simulator. Misha Shardowin, an ex-Rimac engineer, posted a video on his YouTube channel about his own motion racing sim. And we talked about this in our group chat a bit. Bobby, I think, gave some good feedback on this, saying that the way the seat moves, it's going to be really hard to be precise with pedals and steering, and I think he's actually right. After you think about it, because the seat, it's got these motion actuators on the back top of it that basically moves the head where your headrest is forward and backwards as you're going into braking zones or coming out of braking zones, and there's quite a bit of movement there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So basically what I'm getting from what you're saying, Mike, is the seat's moving, but the rest of it's not.
But nothing else is, right?
So this is the same problem we were talking about with monitors. Like, the world's staying still and you're moving, which is not really how it should go, right? Like, especially if you're braking and stuff like that, or accelerating, you do not want when you're accelerating, for it to lift backwards and take your foot off the pedal.
How could you maintain the right amount of brake pressure, right, when you're trying to do a wedge shape brake? You know what I mean by wedge shape, where you get on hard. If you look at a trace on telemetry, it looks like kind of a wedge or like a doorstop, and that's what you want to aim for. So I don't know how you do that if your leg's getting pulled away from the pedal.
Jump to the 11:20 mark of the video, and you'll see it in action, and there's a lot of movement going on, and there's some left-right movement going as well. So it's not just the seat back that's moving forward and back, but there's some other stuff going down. So like you said, it'd be difficult. Now, initially, when you look at this thing, I'm just like blown away. There's so many other components to this rig besides what we've talked about. So the pedals and the steering wheel base can move, and the seat, to fit. Like if you're a small person, a big person, their motion move, like you push a button and they move, mechanically. It's freaking cool. The other thing that was super cool about this is the computer itself that's behind the monitor attached to the rig. He's got it at a 45-degree angle. I don't know why, but it looks cool. I mean, what a neat concept.
He's kind of got it just like sitting on like an arm there, the way the arm works, right?
And he's got some really neat transducers and speaker mounts, you know, to give the vibration and the sound. But I mean, those motion actuators, Brian, pretty incredible what they're doing with the back of that seat.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. You can tell this guy is definitely an engineer, and you know, has a lot of experience with stuff like that, because he really engineered the heck out of this thing.
I'm hoping when I get my rig that I can have the monitors kind of just like that with the curves.
Yeah, so this guy, it's called the Hyper Simulator, and this is a prototype, and I think their intention is to like build it for sale.
I didn't even realize when I was looking at their PC isn't actually a tower box. It's basically, from that image, it's basically a plexiglass plates on each side that they've built the whole thing against. It's kind of like
I don't know how to describe it. You're right. The PC is
like a water tank. Kind of like reminds me of like a water tank too.
it reminds me of those where you build the PC on a board on the wall.
Yeah.
And then it's got like a piece of glass, you know, on standouts just to kind of cover it. Then he takes that board and puts it on a 45 angle, you know, which makes it look dope. Very impressive. I love it.
Well, I hit up the last one. We've got an article reviewing the CSLDD. The article is kind of entitled "Meets the Hype, but There's a Catch," and this is where Jalopnik they reviewed it on their website, and they mentioned that it meets all the hype, but with a catch. And the catch is basically that the 8 nanometer is strongly recommended compared to the 5 nanometer. But as you glance through the article, I didn't read the primer before I went through the article. I was just blitzing through the article trying to find what the catch was, and that's basically it. Everything else in there was positive. He basically said he's excited about this being something new that's kind of bucks the trend of everybody just putting out the same products over the years, and he's hoping it kind of kicks. He mentions at the end, ironically, that he hopes it gets Thrustmaster and Logitech to start perking the ears up, I guess. And that's funny that we just talked about Thrustmaster is looking at putting out a DD down. So
yeah, I think the thrust of the article was make sure you get the upgraded power supply, so you have the more force.
So that's what it does. It's the upgraded power supply gives you the extra force, right?
Right. It's the same motor. You just have a different power supply.
So reading this article too, that one seems to be more readily available too. They'll be ready in February, whereas the other ones without the kit won't be ready till July.
So, Brian, you've run the CSL DD over at his house, at Tyler's house. So, what do you think of it?
Yeah, thanks. I was actually just going to mention that. So, at my house, I have the DD2, which is, you know, a 25 newton meter wheelbase, and I went over to Tyler's and played around with his rig, and he does have this. He does have the 8 newton meter upgrade, and you know the difference in the two is not very much. Partial reason is because when I road race on my DD2, I turned down the strength of it quite a bit. I have my force feedback set up a lot higher on ovals, so I didn't really. I wasn't able to compare the two on ovals quite as much. But as far as road racing goes, it's really solid. For the money, man, it is a really good system. I would definitely recommend it. The fidelity is very nice. It's got plenty of strength for what you would need in most situations. So yeah, I think it was a really good wheel.
I can't say that I wouldn't have gotten this one if it was available back when I went for the podium.
Yeah, me too. If I had to do it over today, I'd probably seriously consider this one over the bigger one. All right, well, let's jump to results. Let's talk racing this week. I ran Dallara Dash at Texas, got a P3. Man, what a great combination. And I was actually talking about, man, they should run the other Dallara cars and still call it Dallara Dash, and every week they switch. I hope they look at that.
It looks like. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you were talking about that the other day, and I thought that was a great idea. I mean, Dallara doesn't necessarily have to be in the Indy car. Dallara makes the IRO1. They make the LMPs, right?
IR18.
Yeah, could be any of those cars. Why not rotate them? iRacing could get people some more exposure to the different cars if people want to buy them to compete in that series. I think that's a great idea.
217s at the Brickyard Oval.
There you go.
Let's talk about some of our IMSA stuff. David, you had a win. You put up your burnout on YouTube.
Well, that was actually not IMSA. That was the Euro Sprint Series at Watkins Glen.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one was there was one other guy that had competitive speed with me, but he pitted early, and in those 6 laps, I gained about 15 seconds on him while he was behind me, and when I came out, I was ahead and never looked back. Yeah, and I did. I think the longest burnout I've really ever done. I like doing the Jimmy Johnson style burnout, where you crank the brake bias all the way forward and just get the wheel spinning and let it creep forward all the way down the front stretch. And it was pretty fun. I sent it to Lawrence as well over at Sim Coaches, and they're going to try to put it into some kind of promo.
You're running the Sim Coach paint for the win. Nice. I'll talk about my IMSA race, which is practice for the 24, P22. So I had error code 1 while loading in at the 90% mark 3 times trying to get in this race. I ended up rebooting and getting in with just 30 seconds left on the grid. So I think I started 24th. I moved up to 13th within the first lap or two. By lap 7, though, I hit the curb coming out of the bus stop, spun it. I was completely in the back at that point. I ended up spinning a second time off the same curb, but never actually wrecked the car. My fastest lap at 1:45.6. Now, since then, I've gotten that down quite a bit. I think I'm at 1:43.9.
Yeah, I've run a lot of practice races, both when PDS was there a couple of weeks ago and with IMSA. Greg's putting down some more pace. All I've got is the consistency and the staying alive ability for the most part, unless something really crazy happens. We had one where was it this morning? Yeah, GT just fishtailed it right around turn 1 and just planted his face right in the wall, and three of the LMPs we just sandwiched on top of each other right behind him. Nothing that any of us could do.
Yeah, when I raced the other night with David, I did something different. Tried something first race, and then I changed something in my brake settings and got a little bit more speed out of it on the second one, and got a little bit faster. Like I said, I was less consistent than I wanted to be. I was down into the 132s. Qualified, I think the second race I qualified 6th, and I was up to the top 3 after 2 laps, and then I just kind of some mental lapses in a couple spots, and it cost me a couple positions, and I think I finished P10 in both races that day. So not great finishes, but I race a little bit different when it comes to the 24-hour races. Those sprint races kind of have a different mentality. I kind of just, maybe the one tonight, I'm going to turn to my 24-hour mentality and see how I do.
Yeah, you have to go a little bit harder. A lot of the times when I'm in the Euro Sprint, some of the GTs think that you should wait more corners, like it's an endurance race. But sometimes you have to go if you can make the safe pass, even if it makes their lap a little inconvenient. I've been farming the iRating though. I'm back up over 2,000. I mean, I don't know. I may have after the last race fallen back under, but what I'll qualify like last, and then I've already passed half the field in 5 laps.
Let's talk Winter League race, P15. First run, I took it easy. I didn't even try to pass a single car in an attempt to save tires, yet I still failed miserably and fell to P30 dead last by the end of the first run. I eventually caught a caution, got a wave around, and back on the lead lap. And with attrition, got a nice, respectable finish of 15th. So it was tough out there running dead last, and I was this close to parking it because I don't like that. But I hung in there and finished it, and I'm glad I did. David, you did much better P10.
Yeah, and I was running probably P15 before everything started, before the cycles started. And a late caution actually kind of hurt my cause a little because there's a few guys who had not made their second pit yet. But even though I only had 5 laps on my tires, I came in and took another set when that late caution fell. So I think that cost me maybe a couple of spots, giving up to a couple of those guys. But in the first 20 laps of that restart, a lot of people had trouble. Probably balanced it out. And I will not miss this package because it was me and Jeff Marble fighting for 9th place. And I could dive to the inside and dive to the inside and dive to the inside and just never get enough of a run to clear him and make the pass because of the way the package runs. So I will not miss this car.
I think everybody was feeling that at the end of that race. Yeah, it was Garrett Maines, I believe, is the winner. Notably, Hermie Sadler joined us in the race. I don't even think I even saw him the whole night, though.
I don't think he ended up getting to run. It showed a packet loss while we were still in practice.
Oh, did he not make it? Okay. Maybe that's why I didn't see him on the track. Let's keep moving. Man Cave After Dark Thursday Night Truck League. I actually quit the race at halfway, running dead last. I couldn't get the truck to turn. It was super tight at New Hampshire. So it was a fixed set, and I don't know. I mean, I think I wasn't letting it roll through the center. I was trying to put the power down early in the center, and as soon as I did, straight to the wall. I mean, the thing just wouldn't turn, and I got frustrated. And like I said before, I don't like to run last, and I actually parked it because I just wasn't happy. So, yeah. Saturday night, Sim 500 Esports Racing League. It was the 87 car. Greg, you and I ran. I didn't even write down my result. I don't think I finished very well.
Yeah, because you spotted for me at the end there because you crashed out.
Yeah.
And I think I finished, 6th? 5th?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. With a damaged car that got lucky. It was an interesting race. Daytona's and Talladega in those cars, because they're wide open and you got to lift. They can become very, if you can do it properly and save the tires, you're definitely going to be fast and be able to catch guys. But if you lose the draft at all and a couple guys get hooked up, you're kind of screwed.
It was fun, though. Yeah, I ended up wrecked and watching you, but I'm going to miss this week because I'm going to be running my 24-hour stint when they run this league event. Let's talk hosted. Ran Kia Optima at several super speedways. Then we ran the 87 at Talladega, and I actually won that race. Super cool to win that. This is the Chris McGuire hosted events he runs on the weekends. And to win one of those events, it's tough. I mean, those guys in there are hard to beat. And so I was pretty stoked to win that race. And then we tried the Gen 5, which is no restrictor plate at Talladega. Reminded me this is the most powerful fendered car on the service. Super fun. And then we ran the IndyCar at Michigan, and I got a P4 there. So lots of fun with those guys. You guys should come out and join us.
Are they all on Saturday night?
Friday night, Saturday night, and I think Sunday nights.
Okay.
And hosted, and pretty fun. OBRL ARCA, Brian Watkins Glen.
Yeah, so I was, we race Watkins Glen at least once every series and that, and so I didn't jump in early or do any practicing for it because I've done Watkins Glen so many times. So I was expecting to get the cup configuration, and then when I logged in, I was like, oh man, they got the boot. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I was not prepared for the boot, but I've done it before in other cars, but not in the cup car, or the ARCA car. So I figured it out fairly quickly and was doing pretty good. They also didn't have the bus stop, and the problem with not having the bus stop is, you take it carrying all that speed into the carousel, but there's not really any great markers for your break points on that spot. There's no markers counting down, the 100 feet, 200, 300, or whatever. So
the bus stop. You basically got to use the inside of the track.
Yeah, I was wind up breaking after you come out of the bus stop. The pavement transitions to a different color, and I was like braking just after that. And there's a big bump there too. I don't know if you know that, but if you don't hit the bus stop and you just keep going straight through, there's a big bump at that transition. It almost knocks you out of whack. So I think I qualified 8th or 9th, and I wound up finishing P7. So I kept it pretty clean. I had 2 incident points for just overshooting in turn 1 because it seems like if you get 2 tires off the rumble strips on turn 1, you'll get a point for that. So there was one other place that I blew a corner by a little bit, got another point. So I'll take that for P7 at a road course. They're not my forte, so from there.
All right, and the Aftermath Truck Series, OBRL, it was Clay Walker winning at Charlotte, Al Turner in 2nd, Trace Brown in 3rd.
A couple new names on there. Trey Brown doesn't typically finish in the top 3 from what I remember.
All right, and with that, let's jump to final thoughts. Brian McCubbin.
So I am going to be taking the move to outer space, folks. I am ordering a Starlink satellite dish either this weekend, and I'm going to try and get that set up. So I've watched a lot of videos on it. I put in my address. They say I should be good in my area. So I'm going to try that and get it set up for the family at least. And then I'll start using it on the sim once we get comfortable with it, and then I'll start thinking about whether I get rid of this hockey puck or not once I feel comfortable. The only thing that worries me is that it can have like some short interruptions here and there. It can be sometimes it can be from trees and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be a problem where I'm at because it's supposed to face to the north most of the time, and I don't have any trees on the north side of my house. So so I'm going to give it a shot, and I'll try it out on racing, make sure I don't have any interruptions. I'll probably just use it for hosted races or something like that, and see how it works on there before I start using it for leagues and stuff like that.
All right, well, I'll plug my work because you brought it up. At Verizon, we turned on our C-band network on Wednesday, 10 times faster than LTE, and we're going to offer home internet to over 100 million Americans, about 2/3 of our customers. And so if you're one of those 100 million Americans, you're going to be eligible for 5G home internet, $25 a month if you have an account, $50 if you don't. And the download speeds are 300 to 1,000 megabits per second down and 50 up. And we've had speed tests on Reddit over the last couple of days, and seeing reports across the country, anywhere from 700 to 900 down, 50 to 100 up, some crazy, crazy speeds. It'll certainly work for iRacing. We're taking on the cable companies, and it should be an interesting year as the United States transitions to a wireless home internet instead of wired.
That's pretty cool. So, Mike, I heard that they had to pause that for some reason. Is that true?
We did
Some
delay
kind of radio
for 2 weeks.
interference?
Yeah, the FAA is concerned about interference with their airline altimeters, which are at a similar frequency but not the same, which is nonsense. It's all baloney, because there's like 45 other countries that have C-band already, and they have airports and they have airplanes, and they don't have any, and they have altimeters, and they have no problem at all. And so it's all just baloney. We turned it on. We gave them 2 weeks as a courtesy, and we turned it on anyway.
So with that, you have to buy a router?
Free hardware.
Free hardware. Wow.
But when would that 5C be out where Brian lives?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, if we cover 100 million of 350 million Americans, so you do the math and figure out where it's at.
Yeah, but if the plane lands that they knock out of the sky near Brian's house, they might be able to bounce a signal off of it to get his internet for him.
Does it have a way to see if you're in one of the C-band areas?
Yeah, you Google Verizon 5G Home, pop in your address. It'll tell you yes or no.
Cool. Thanks.
Brian.
All right, Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
Looking forward to the endurance race this weekend. Hopefully all the guys show up. I'm hoping that we got a full team for us. I hope everybody, nobody backs out. I got a confirmation yesterday that my rig has shipped. It is right now sitting 6 hours away from me, which is kind of annoying because, it's only 6 hours, but probably with my luck, it'll be close, probably about an hour away by tomorrow, and not deliver till Monday.
I hope you don't have any grand designs of having this thing put together real quick, because that's what I had in mind, and that was a crazy dream.
It takes a whole day.
Well, that's fine. I'm not expecting it to be. It's probably going to be the following weekend project for it, because I got to move my studio around. I got to this whole angle will change, because I got to try and fit it in the back corner behind me here a little bit differently, and set everything up the way I want to do it, because once it's there, it's staying there.
Now, I don't think you've said on the show what you got. Now, you got the ASR3.
4.
The ASR4.
Yeah, so I bought the ASR4 from Advanced Sim Racing site. They're from Quebec, Canada. So it's obviously it's nice to buy something out of the country here. They're from reading up on them, they've only been around since COVID started. They started this when COVID broke out, and they're one of the fastest growing businesses in the this type of rig style. I got the triple monitor attached to the base stand, keyboard tray, button box. I bought a cup holder. What else? I got I think I got the level of a seat 1 down from what you were running. The NRG seat. I have that. Trying to think what else I got.
Mouse tray.
I have a mouse tray, and I also have a seat slider. So the nice thing will be is, this will be the first. I've been running a play seat since I joined this team, 4 years ago, and this will be the first time I've raced a rig that won't have a center post in between my legs. So it'll be interesting to run it as an outside frame.
You're gonna like them. As I mentioned, I bought the PC tray that holds my PC from Advanced Sim Racing because they have a really nice one and nobody else had one. And so I ended up getting that piece from them, and I can't be more happy with that piece. I mean, the quality is outstanding.
And also the other thing I forgot to include, I have also purchased. I wasn't at the time thinking I was going to even have any monitors on it. I was going to wait for a good deal, and a good deal came up. I bought three 32-inch curved Samsung curved monitors. So should be interesting when we have them all mounted up. And I guess I went into Brian's wallet and decided to spend some money, and we'll we'll see how it goes having both options.
Now, I want to ask, why not Sim Labs? I mean, you were on the fence big time.
I did research the Sim Labs one. It looked like it was going to be when I was talking, because I had emailed both companies. I never heard anything back. Actually, no, sorry, I did not get a chance to email Sim or what was it? Engineering. It's engine. Yeah. Great Engineering. There's pretty much almost everything Sim cockpit related on their website has been sold out since New Year's. So, and they haven't not come in anything on stock. When I talked to Advanced Sim Racing, they had all their stuff coming in stock, and was able to meet my needs right away for whatever it was. It just, they were back ordered for or they were behind a little bit after Christmas when they came back from the break to get all the orders shipped. So it says 2 to 4 business days to ship it. So I got the notification yesterday, so I'm guessing I'll have it by middle of next week, and then I can figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of this stuff next.
Yeah, we've talked about that company before. Where they have the colored ASR 6, their highest version, where you can get the orange or the blue.
I thought about it. I just didn't. If I'm running VR, the color doesn't matter to me. The color really in general doesn't matter to me. No one else comes into this room. Even if I'm running in the triples, color doesn't bother me. And for, I think it's like another $100 to get it colorized. Is it really worth that kind of money when I can spend it on another portion of it, or save that money for something else down the road or whatever? The AR6, there's a little bit of a bit difference from the AR4, but it's not a big leap to spend. I think it's another $300 for it.
Right.
And they claim that it's their rigs are supposed to be they're supposed to be as sturdy as any of them on the market.
Yeah, when I did my research on my purchase, ASR was a very close second place to Sim Labs. I mean, I almost bought the orange one or the blue one, but yeah, I ended up with the Sim Labs, and I'm happy with it. But I would have been very happy with Advanced Sim Racing too, I think.
I mean, they're basically were on the same level. I think there's maybe $100 difference from their ASR 6 and the Sim Labs one. I think they're pretty much on par together price wise. I think it just availability and things like that were factors for me. I even had considered at one point, until I had gone through and I priced everything out, I was looking into the V-Rig thing that we had shown on this sim, but trying to get it over here from Europe is the expense is just ridiculous, and I'm not going to spend another like $500 or $600 just to ship something here from Europe, whereas here, it's free shipping North America with ASR 2, which is really nice.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there. All right, well, looking forward to that. David Hall, your final thoughts.
Well, Greg mentioned worried about the roster. Tom was reporting this morning having major graphics issues. So we'll have to find out if he's running into a not problem there. We told him he probably just needs to turn his graphics down. Hopefully that'll all work out. And for example, if for some reason there's a delay in the start, I will have to just do a double at the beginning instead of a triple. And then because that's the only time I can run that morning. And then that's that. I've tried streaming some more and playing around with different settings, and it's just not working. So give me a second here. I just yelled at Greg about his ringer, and mine's on.
I just got him in trouble by texting him back.
Pro podcast moments here. It's not going to work on this computer. And when me and Greg were practicing the other night, he's like, well, that's why I have two computers. I was like, how does that work? And he's like, oh, you can use this thing basically called a pass-through, essentially. He called it Stream Deck at first, but it comes from the same.
It's a capture card.
Yeah, it's like a capture card, but it really just passes through the video. So it basically splits the video so it can go to your monitor and your other computer. And I actually bought the version that goes in the streaming PC, because I have a PC that literally was my old one before I upgraded this one that has just been sitting on my TV to watch Netflix and whatever on, instead of having a Roku TV or something.
Sure,
so I have to
Netflix. Sure.
I have to reposition everything, and once it comes in next week, I should be able to stream from the other computer.
So did you get one of the Elgato capture cards, the internal ones? So was it Elgato as the brand?
Yeah, it's Elgato, and it goes inside. They have 5 different choices on their site, and this one goes into the. It has a higher bit rate that way, basically, because it's going through PCI. But I also had to buy a couple of HDMI connectors, and I've found out why you can run into trouble with HDMI is if you're going back to HDMI from DVI, you have to have extra power. So you have to get an adapter that actually they're unidirectional. They only go one direction. You can get a cable that goes down to DVI and not have to have the extra power, but the one that goes back to HDMI also has a USB plug that you have to plug in just to get some juice.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't as simple as just an adapter.
Yeah, because you have a DVI output from the back of your motherboard, right?
My newer motherboard is only DVI, or well, the 2080 Super is only DVIs and one USB-C out.
They don't have any displays or HDMIs?
I'm sorry, I meant display, not DVI. I meant display. So
you have to do a display to HDMI.
Right.
Okay.
And display to HDMI works without power, so that's just a cable or an adapter will work for that. I just bought a cable. But the other way, I actually have to use an adapter to step it back up to HDMI with power. Or I don't know if that's considered a step up or not, but HDMI apparently requires power to run through the cable.
Yeah, and David, when I was talking to David about this, the reason I have it too is I'm going to use mine to sometimes I might decide on my channel eventually down the road to, if I'm playing games on my Xbox or my PlayStation or here, I can plug those directly in and stream those while I'm playing them as well.
Yeah, I could as well. Even though it's plugged into the PC, I could just turn around and grab my Xbox that hasn't been turned on in 3 years and pop it in there. But it'll allow me to use OBS on the older PC, which is it's just an older i7 actually, so it'll get the job done without slowing my current one down.
Well, it's basically, with internet speeds being so good nowadays, it doesn't matter. You have two things trying to take internet. It's the usage of the memory of the computer and the CPU usage that you want back from it. And if you use a different computer, that saves all that memory being used.
Yeah, it's not going to increase the outgoing signal from my home at all. I'm just putting 2 CPUs to use instead of 1.
Another tip when you run 2 PCs, I don't do it anymore. I used to. Mice Without Borders. Mouse Without Borders is a program actually by Microsoft And if you install it on both PCs, you can use the same keyboard and mouse across both computers.
That was actually in that forum, the post that we were talking about earlier with alt tabs and all that. It was actually mentioned in there. But what I do with that PC currently when I'm sitting over here is I just remote desktop to it.
Yes.
Yeah, Chrome Remote Desktop is a great tool.
See, I'm just going to be leaving my other mouse and keyboard on the rig because I have two Logitech wireless keyboards and mouses that I just use one for the studio, one for my racing rig, and I just keep them with those with each system. So the studio will have all that stuff, and that's the nice thing is once I separate everything over to that computer, I don't have to worry about anything. I can stream off this computer. I turn it on. That's it. I do the show from here, and then the rest of the stuff is all the racing rig. And I can. And the one thing, the other reason I decided doing the triples, I forgot to mention this. I want to play other sims that sometimes aren't VR capable.
You want to play truck sim?
Well, no, I want to actually run like F1 2021. It doesn't have a VR portion of it. I don't have a monitor in front of my sim, so I can't play it. So I just have the sim or my rig sitting off the side with no monitor in front of it, so it's impossible to play something like that. So I wanted to have an option to play some other sims, or I can run Truck Simulator. I can play Farm Simulator. I mean, Mike's into the heavy into the farm simulating Discord, aren't you, Mike?
I'm trying to figure out how to get the notifications off in there.
The thought of a real life truck driver wanting to play truck sim makes my head hurt.
See, it wasn't that. It's when I go. You better be careful when I had a bad day at work and I go into GTA and decide to do things in Grand Theft Auto with transport trucks. You should be worried about.
Yeah. You mentioned the keyboards, though. I keep a wireless keyboard over by my couch because when I'm watching TV and sitting there, I'm too far away from the computer.
Okay, my final thoughts. Man, I finally got that monkey off the back and won in the 87 car at Talladega. If you recall, every time I would get to the front at Talladega, I would spin the thing out in clean air. But I think I shook that finally. I just got to, I had to be careful. It's just tiptoeing, when you get in that clean air. And ran that hosted race over the weekend and won that race. And I finally feel like maybe I've shook that monkey. Waiting for that 670 horsepower on the next gen, like twiddling my thumbs waiting. Like, I don't feel like I can prepare for the season until that comes out. And like David says, what's the point, in running this old package we know is going away. So man, iRacing, please, let's get that out sooner rather than later. And hey, why don't we get the the Coliseum already? It sounds like it's done. So let's get it.
Who are you kidding, Mike? You're not going to practice it anyways when it first comes out. You're just going to hop in a race.
I would imagine I'd run it once, a race, not a practice. But... All right, and with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later. Okay, title ideas.
We have 6 dirty deeds. Holy balls, Batman. Biggest event ever. I'll be in the cabin. Dirty cabin. Shaking the monkey.
Sim Cabin. I think you got to add one.
Yeah.
Sim Cabin.
I think Sim Cabin should be the actual title of the show.
I love it.
Yeah, Sim Cabin. It's none of the 6 we typed, but yeah, I'll go with that one.
Good show. And we didn't have too many hardware